back to Iron Rage, the show where John Romano, Lee Priest, and I vent our frustrations with the world. John is off today. God damn, how dare he have a real job, Lee, huh?
No, it's unheard of. This is sort of somebody in the bodybuilding fraternity having a real job. It's like a beyond a joke.
Especially from John Romano, who never had a real job, you know?
Oh, it's crazy. It's like the Virgin Mary having a baby without sex. It's just, it can't happen. There we go. Look, we've only been on 30 seconds. I've just upset the Christians. Oh, fucking hell.
Now, Lee, you just had another treatment on your tattoo on your face. How does that feel? Are you feeling a little sore today?
No, look, it's looking good, isn't it? Look at that eye.
Yeah. You look like Rocky, like you got pounded in the face a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I'm convinced that you're taking this tattoo off because you've actually run out of space on your body to tattoo and you need a new canvas. Is that true?
Well, I'm actually getting rid of it. It's been 13 years on board. You can do cover up here, like I was saying. I probably have to do like Darth Vader, or like you mentioned, the Terminator. But once it goes, there'll be a little bit left there and a little bit left there. So maybe I'll make something smaller. Maybe like a fucking Lone Ranger mask.
I like that. That would be good.
You won't know it's me. And you won't recognise me because no one recognises the Lone Ranger when he's got that mask on. You'll be like, fuck, where's Lee? Where's Lee? Oh, there he is. No, he's not. No. Yeah, just poke myself in the eye.
Here's a question for you. Were you a Lone Ranger fan? Did you watch all the shows?
Yes.
What does Kemosabe mean?
Kemosabe, isn't it like friend or something?
Something like that. I don't know. I thought you would know.
It probably means fucking white man took our land. You can't. That's probably what it means.
What did you?
That's probably considered. That's racist, that show, isn't it?
I heard it was racist against the Indians.
You can't play cowboys and Indians at school anymore because, whatever.
Everything's politically incorrect. Now, did you see the new Lone Ranger movie that came out a couple years ago with Johnny Depp as this Tonto?
Yeah, and what's his name?
I forget.
Harmon, whatever.
Yeah. Did you like it? Did you think it was good?
Well, it wasn't bad. A bit of slapstick comedy in there. Johnny Depp sort of had the funny part in, and that wasn't bad. So, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Let's get to today's topic. Today's topic is, who was the toughest Mr. Olympia to beat? Okay, that's different than who do we think is the greatest Mr. Olympia? Because I think the greatest Mr. Olympia of all time was Ronnie Coleman, but I want to know who is the toughest to beat. And we're going to go back from Lee Haney to Dorian Yates to Ronnie Coleman to Phil Heath. Now, Phil seems like he's the most difficult to beat, but who do you think? You've competed against Yates and Coleman. Who, in your mind, was the toughest guy to beat and why?
Practically they all are. That's why they're probably 6, 5, 7-time Mr. Olympia. So it's like, it's hard to say because we've seen a few shows where I think Lee Haney probably maybe one show he maybe didn't look like he should have won it, but nearly every other show, Haney, there's no doubting he should have won. I think the one where, didn't they drug test it one year in Chicago? I think that year he didn't look at his best, but when he came back for his final show in Florida, he just blew everyone away when that stage turned around and he was standing there, so he was the clear winner.
Yeah.
So then you have Yates where, just his sheer mass and definition and his dryness, he was always hard to beat. But then when that last year come up when he tore his bicep and he was a bit bloated in the stomach and NASA was there in 97,
right?
It looked like he should have got beat. So that's what, if you're Mr. Olympia, it's always hard to beat wherever it be because you've got that aura of being Mr. Olympia. You've got to come in so much better than them to really blow the champ away, which has happened before. But like I said, it's hard to do sometimes. Dexter's come in and won it again, and Jay come in and took it off Ronnie, so it can be done. So, it's hard. The ones that probably haven't been beat would be the hardest. So you got Yates and you got, Coleman did get beat that one year with Fing, and then Jay was a great Mr. but he did get beat by Phil. So a couple of them have been beat. So to say the hardest to beat would probably be Yates and Haney because they never did get beat.
Right. When Haney was competing, he was so much bigger than everyone else, and the funny thing was he wasn't even really that big with today's comparisons, But
no, I think he's only like 235 or something. He's only around 240.
He looked gigantic compared to everyone else back in the day, though, because they were all like middleweights and like heavyweights competing against him. There were no real big freaky guys until Yates came along, and a lot of people thought Yates was going to win that 91 Olympia. And Haney came in unbelievable, which I'm sure he knew that Yates was going to be there,
I think Yates that year just looked a little bit, looked a bit flat, like he was really drawn into face like you'd never seen him before. But then what about the transformation from that year to the following year when Yates come back? It's like Remember those black and white pictures that Chris Lund took from before in the gym with the socks on? It's like the difference is like no one was going to beat him. And now you have Phil too. It's like, there's probably that one year when Kai was there that, people thought it could have gone either way with Kai and Phil. But it's like, it's like we've said, unless you can come in so spectacular, you've got to really have, it's got to be like clear cut. When you walk out on stage, you can't and ah. If someone stands beside Mr. Olympia, it has to be, he's going to beat him, because if you just go, maybe you can, maybe you can't, it's close, it ain't going to happen. So it generally always goes to the champ.
my belief is that it was Yates was the hardest to beat, and I'll tell you why. Because when he was competing in the 90s, you had Flex Wheeler, you had Nasser, you had Cormier, you had Sean Ray, you had Lee Priest, you had
Nice mention, thank you.
Yes. No, but I'm saying you guys were all so good, and every year people were saying Levrone, everyone would say that's it, Yates is never going to win again. And this guy was so mentally tough. He would just block everything out, and he would come in like peeled beyond imagination, and he would beat these guys that genetically probably should have beat him. That's why he was so he was. And if you ask Yates himself, he said no one can train harder or prepare more for a show than I could. So I knew that there's no way these guys were going to beat me. And even Flex Wheeler admitted to saying that he goes, I saw Yates as unbeatable in my mind. So how do you beat a guy who you believe you can't beat, even though you have better tools than he does? That to me is the most difficult guy to beat. The guy who never, ever, comes in off.
And the thing is too, it's like all those shows with Yates, it wasn't like anyone didn't deserve to be Olympia in that top 6 or even the top 10, because, not taking nothing away from today's guys, but today you might have maybe the top 5 are in great condition, and you have a lot of people that are a little bit off, a little bit smooth. Right. But back then, it was like from the top 6, even the top 8, everyone was at their best. There wasn't anyone that was, okay, he's a bit off, he's not going to do it. Everyone, like I said, came in trying to beat the champ. There wasn't, like I said, some days now you might have just the top 4 in the best condition, and the others are, he's a little bit smooth here, a bit smooth there. But everyone come in diced and peeled at the best condition to try beat Yates. So.
Yeah. I mean, thank God there was an Arnold Classic back then, because at least that was a show where people were like, all right, well, let's see who's going to win this year, because it's not a foregone conclusion. But the Olympia, those couple of years that Yates was just, it was untouchable. And even when he got injured, he was unbeatable, because he still would find a way to come in at his absolute best and beat these guys, both physically and mentally. And I mean, that's just, to me, that's a guy who's just unbeatable. Ronnie Coleman won a lot of shows because he was just so big and great, but I don't necessarily think that Ronnie was a great poser. I think that Ronnie, made a lot of mistakes, but despite the mistakes, he won because he was so big. But Yates just didn't leave any detail unturned.
I think the good thing with Yates was too, because he lived overseas, nobody would see him. Get everybody in America, everyone you see at Gold's gym or a gym somewhere else, but he stayed overseas, wouldn't even see a picture of him, or if he did, he was covered up in his jumper and pants at his gym in the dungeon. And then maybe, a week or so or two, we come out and go to Bev and, gym up there. And once he's there, they might take a photo and put online. He's starting getting ready, and he'd just be still covered up with a big jumper on, so you could never see what he looked like to the day to show. So I think that fucked with a lot of people's minds too, because they're like, well, how's he really looking? But back then, you knew he was in shape, because back then his face would be that drawn in, there'd be nothing but bones in his face. So you're like, as soon as you saw the cheekbones, you're like, oh, well, we're going to be fucked again, I guess.
Now, Phil Heath is very difficult to beat too, which is weird, because you see his physique and you're like, well, here's a guy who's not the biggest guy on stage. He's usually one of the hardest, I'll give him that. But he's not the widest. He doesn't have the craziest structure. And you're like, but yet the guy can't be beaten. He's going for 8 wins this year. He'll probably get 8. Maybe he'll go for 9 and 10. It's hard to say, but here's a guy who knows how to win shows. But there's no real specific reason why he's winning the shows, but he just shows up better than everyone else. So that makes a tough guy, too, to beat. When you have to evaluate who's the toughest to beat, Phil's got to be right up there.
But I think with Phil is too, like I said, we've seen Phil look better, and then people say, well, maybe last year wasn't his best, but you've only got to be good enough, better than the other people to win it. And the sad thing is, like when Kai was there, and there's a few people there, like Rode and all these people, there are a few guys there with great physiques who, if they came in at their best, could really push Phil and maybe go for the win. But to me, it just seems like I don't know, some of these guys, whether they try and play the size game and come in too big, and then when they come in too big, they're sacrificing that condition. And then when you stand beside Phil, if he's in condition, you're going to look a bit off. So, there are some guys there who I think could really push Phil and go for the win if they came in their best, To me, Mr. Consistency, Dexter Jackson, you can never count him out, but then it's whether, he hasn't got the size Phil has, but to me, he's always looked so consistent and comes in great condition, and the little bit of muscle he makes is, a big change on his frame. So, you can never count some people out like Dexter and that, but like I always said, if Kai could have come in with that conditioning and that Dorian Yates had, he would have been right up there to easily take a win.
Well, you know what the funny thing is? Phil might be the luckiest Mr. Olympia of all time because he just is always at the right place at the right time and has just enough to beat these guys. He's lucky Kai comes in off at the Olympia every single time he was doing it. This one isn't at his best on the year that Phil was off. Remember that there was a couple of years Phil was off a little bit, but the guys just couldn't step up to the plate and take it away from him. And I don't think there was any one year that he really didn't squeak by these guys, pull it off at the night show, whatever. So I don't know if he's the most difficult to beat. I think he's the luckiest guy in the sense that he just no one ever shows up when he's at his most vulnerable,
Well, like I said, Phil's a great Mr. Olympia, but when he walks out on stage, like when he used to come out next to Kai and that, you'd be like, he could go either way here and there. But like I said, with Yates, when he walked out on stage, you're like, yep, here's one. Okay, let's just walk on to the next people and see who's going to get second, third, and fourth. Because sometimes, it's like I said, even with Haney, when he walked out and stood there in that relaxed pose, you're like, yep, okay, Haney's won. There's no question about it. Same with Yates. But with Phil, sometimes you think, okay, well, maybe this guy's going to push him or, this and that. But now we're seeing all the pictures coming out as we normally do of people in the gyms doing their poses before the Mr. Olympia, looking great under the lighting, standing by themselves. And it's like I said, that all looks fine and dandy, but, you've still got, 7-8 weeks? What is it to the Mr. Olympia? So I was like, you can look great now, but it only counts on that one day. And sadly, we're seeing so many people. You remember some of those shots you'd see of Dennis James back in the day at his gym when he was in Thailand? You're like, this guy's going to be top 3 for sure. And then they walk out on stage, you're like, oh, what happened? It's like, so we're seeing all these pictures. Even the ones of Rami coming out now, the guy looks big and that. But, to me, it's like when you had Akim Albrechts and Marcus Rules and that, massive guys with massive amounts of muscle. But then when they stand on stage with someone who just has those nice lines and that, it just doesn't flow. And, then people go, oh, he's much bigger, he should have won. But, it's just not all about size. And sadly, Rami's got that size. And even now, he needs that conditioning Yates had. And then he might be able to push Phil a bit. But, sadly, they don't seem to have that anymore, that conditioning.
So to be unbeatable, Lee, do you have to have that mindset that just will never give up, will never give an inch, will never show up at less than your best, that will never, ever, relent? Because by his own admission, Dorian said he did nothing but think about bodybuilding, do bodybuilding, and focus on bodybuilding, and no one could have outworked him. And I believe him when he says that because he lived like a monk. I don't think a lot of these guys are willing to make those sacrifices.
Yeah, that's the way you got to be if you're going to train like that. And I think back in the day too, like I said, Dorian was just away, and we've seen people that used to train at Goghs and that. Sure, they trained hard, but they loved to party a bit too, and they loved to go out and do all the other stuff. Whereas Yates wasn't doing that. He was going to that dungeon gym and stuff. And how many guys would like to train in that dungeon gym with no working toilet and this and just, England gets cold and stuff. And some people think they're tough training in the cold, but it was just like a pit down there, and that's where he loved to train. So he thrived on it. And like I said, not seeing him, it messed with people's minds. But you go to Gold's gym and there'd be people mucking around here and there, going to the firehouse just like it's a nice day out, walking in the sun, having a laugh. So, you can have that mindset when you're in the gym, but, he was pretty much full on. And, I had that mindset, Dave, but I used to get beat a lot.
I don't think Dorian Yates ate Kentucky Fried Chicken in the off-season. I really doubt that, Lee.
I don't know. Yates got pretty heavy in the off-season, if I recall. He was eating something. Not from eating
Kentucky Fried Chicken. What was your biggest Kentucky Fried Chicken purchase back in the day?
I used to just buy the bucket, eat the bucket. I think it's like 21 pieces.
Oh, my God. 21 pieces, one sitting?
Used to sit in RxMuscle and eat it there. And then used to be when my friend Scott used to work there, we had this wall in RxMuscle. I don't know if you ever saw it. There used to be like the Kentucky chicken bucket on the wall I signed, the pizza box I signed. Then tourists would come in and ask could they buy these, whatever I ate junk food wise, would sign a donut box, sign it, put it on the wall at RxMuscle. So, yeah.
Do you miss those days? Lee, don't you remember what Venice Gold's was like back in the day? Venice, Beach was like they had just strips of one street or two streets where all they had was stores lining Main Street there with all the clothing stores and supplement stores.
We had like what, Body Alive? Yeah, George's LA Urban. Jelly Fitness is still there. George, that's Samir's cousin, runs that because Samir used to have LA Urban Cowboy next door, but now it's just a big store. He's still there. You had Hot Skins there. You had Body Alive store there, just down from the firehouse. And then you then at the firehouse, you go across and eat at Kookaroo on the corner.
Kookaroo, right?
So yeah, they were good old days then.
Van Gogh's ear. How about
everyone
that?
Was there. That's when Gary Stridon lived across the road above Kookaroo, but he'd drive his car from there to the firehouse because he didn't want to walk.
Did he really do that?
Huh?
He really drove over there?
Yeah, he drove over. So
he literally was across the street. Really across the street.
I was talking to Gary not long ago on Facebook and that, so he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, he still looks great too. Did you ever go to Van Gogh's ear in the middle of the night?
Yes, none in the middle of the night, just after training some days, but I wasn't really fussed on that. That was more like the type, vegan type sort of place. There's the firehouse, which was healthy, but then Van Gogh's ear seemed more like the healthy place for the artsy-fartsy types.
Right, but they were open 24 hours, though. Isn't that why a lot of people went there?
I think so, yeah. Then I actually had these eggs in that one day with some egg on it. I actually thought they served me fucking Van Gogh's ear by the look of it. It didn't look too tasty, the thing they gave me, but yeah, my friend Kurt Miller and I used to always go there. But he wasn't bad. But then we used to go to Aunt Kizzy's kitchen there over at Marina Del Rey, just near Von's supermarket.
Right.
They had a Kookaroo over there as well. And then you probably do remember Arnold's building there on Main Street where Sharky's restaurant was. There used to be Sparky's yogurt there. Did you ever go in there? Yeah,
that's where Shotzi on Main was, right?
Yeah, it's just at the front there. The little Asian guy used to run it.
Yeah. Arnold had Shotzi's. Wasn't it Hungarian food or Austrian food or something like that?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's pretty good. But the frozen yogurt place was to hang out there because that's when all that low-fat, sugar-free yogurt.
Yeah, everyone thought it was really healthy. It was all it was make you shit your brains out, basically.
Eat it by the tub for you. We're going healthy here, but they were good times back then. And actually, I just saw a picture on Instagram. Jim that does all the car detailing. He was detailing cars when I was there. He just put up a picture of Eddie Giuliani training at 4 a.m. in the morning at Gold's Gym there. So
oh, wow. I had Ed on the show a long time ago. He's great. What a great personality.
That's the thing. It's funny when you go into Gold sometimes and you still, I see it on Instagram now, but hopefully I might get to go in when I go to Olympia. But it's good to see. Sometimes you see some of the same people that are there still.
Oh, I'm sure they're still there.
20 years later.
Yeah.
So
what about, you ever go to Joni's Coffee Roaster on, what was it, Lincoln? Oh, no, Washington. On Washington.
Oh, yeah, more over towards Marina Del Rey area.
Yeah. I love that place. And I liked, where else?
The Marina Pacific was always a good one. That's
where Venice Cafe, right? In there.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's where Gary would always have breakfast there.
Everyone ate breakfast there.
Mickey Rourke was always there. But yeah, that was like the pancakes there I think everybody went for. So.
Yeah. People don't realize they would have what's called the bodybuilder breakfast. It would be like pancakes and eggs and oatmeal and chicken breast. It would be like there would be like so much food and it would be like $8. It was like so cheap, maybe even less than that.
Exactly. And even if you were built like that and skinny, if you ate that, you were a fucking bodybuilder.
Yeah, you had to eat it all. But the funny thing was there was probably about 12 spots to sit in this Venice Cafe. It was so small, and it was like a who's who of bodybuilders. Pro bodybuilders. It was unbelievable how many pro bodybuilders would be in there at one time. I couldn't believe it. When I came and visited the first time, I thought I was in like Disneyland,
And you didn't have all the like German tourists because they'd always stay at the hotel and come down there and eat
you're right.
Guys that are trying to become bodybuilders from Germany or stuff, or you get the German tourists that would come over and bring their special supplements for the bodybuilders would stay there down there in the cafe with their little briefcases. Wonder what was in that.
Is that what they would do? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh, you know that, Dave. You know that. Okay. Wink, 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 wink.
We knew, Lee. We knew you used more drugs than you told us.
No, but that was, like I said, that was the good times back then. Especially, like I said, that cafe was always packed.
Yeah.
But I still got the firehouse now because you see pictures of that. But I said, could you imagine back then we didn't have the social media of like the cameras now? Imagine some of the photos that would have been popping up back then of all the people around. Because the only time you saw like the pros in Gold's Gym was if Jerry Fredericks, Artie Zeller, or someone with a camera took photos. Imagine if you had cell phones back in the 90s, some of the great
Forget
shots you would have got back then.
Oh my God.
So I was like,
if that was the case, Lee, I don't think that the Gauss Menace would have been, I think it would have remained what it was then today, because I think people would have wanted to continue, being in that environment there, and I think people would have stayed. But then again, maybe not, because once the magazines kind of folded, and social media became something you can do in your house. You didn't have to be in Venice anymore to be seen.
No, it's like I said, you only have to have a normal camera. That was the back in the days. You'd take a photo in the gym and have to go down to Von Supermarket for your 2-for-1 prints to come out. I got a great picture of me and Dorian, and when you get it back, there's me and Dorian will have your fucking finger across it like that. Well, I think he's there.
No, you're right.
There was no take another picture. It's like if you went to some of those expos and took photographs and the picture was blurry or your fingers covering the lens, you're shit out of luck to next year. So.
and it was so exciting to take a picture back then, because you never knew what you got. It was like, go to the, get it developed, you had to wait like a week, and then you were so excited to get the pictures back, Well,
I've seen people now, it's funny, because back then, because you only see the guys in the magazines, or if you're lucky enough to train the gym, like I said, people go to those expos or even seminars and wait forever to get a photo on that. I've seen people now, these new age, whatever they're called, type of people that are into the fitness. I've been at expos now where you'll have someone like a Flex or a Dorian, like a Phoebo and that, and these young kids come by, the ones that are just into the fitnessy type with their string of tank tops on. I've seen them walk, they'll be in a group of 4 or 5 and they walk by someone like Dorian, someone says, do you want to get a picture? They're like, I'm like, what the fuck? It's like how things have changed. It's like, if you or someone back then, you're like, oh, fuck this. You just stand there, and I see back in the day that you'd stand there and just watch them sign photographs for fucking half an hour.
Oh,
just
yeah,
looking
absolutely.
at them, watching them sign. It's like, wow, it's like watching this rare beast that you haven't seen. It'd be like bringing dinosaurs back in Jurassic Park. You just stand there in amazement at them. But now, like I said, these young kids walk past and go, nah. They even do it to me. I was at a thing and had a big line up. Some guys go, oh, there's the priest. And the others go, nah.
Yeah, because because we're too accessible now online. It's not a big deal anymore. Like when I would go see someone guest pose at a local like New Jersey or New York show, it was a huge event, because how often did you get up close? Because when people would compete at shows, you really didn't get close to them. But at these guest posings, they would do, you'd be able to interact with them and talk to them at their booth. It was like a huge big thing. Nowadays, you can just freaking text them, or you can Facebook or Instagram them and get an instantaneous response. Who cares when you see them in person? It's not even, people don't even, think about it. Today, people don't even care about person-to-person interactions anymore. Matter of fact, most people don't even want to talk to anyone anymore. They only want to text.
That's the thing, too. But bodybuilders have to sort of appreciate, even though, it's might not be as big a sport as baseball and basketball and stuff, but you can still get up close to bodybuilders at the Mr Olympia Expos and at the Arnold Expos and stuff. I said, try going to some of these baseball events or basketball events and try get up close to LeBron James for a photo and stuff like that. You're not going to get close to him, but yet we're easy accessible, and you give the fans that, and some just like, whatever, what's he type thing. And back in the day too, they'd walk up and they'd be like shaking. Some still do shake your hand, but some are, oh, it's great to meet you, and they'd talk really nice. Now it's like, oh, Lee, I've been a fan of yours, didn't they? What do you think I should take? What drugs and cycle do you think I should? I'm like, what the fuck?
Lee, it goes back to the old question I said in the beginning of the show. Who was the toughest Mr. Olympia to beat? Well, back in the day, it was the guy you didn't see at all because you didn't know what was coming at you. Nowadays, that guy makes zero money if he's not on social media. He makes nothing because no one cares about him. And relevance today seems to be the guy who's the most popular on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It really is a brave new world in bodybuilding.
And he doesn't, and like I said, now you go to the expos, and like I said, it's the popular ones on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, the ones that have never even competed or I've never heard of. They look like a fucking dog walker, and they're fucking got the biggest lineup out there. So it's like, it's crazy. Yeah,
the bodybuilding world has certainly changed. But look, guys, if you enjoy all this raging and talk and topics of debate we do here on the show, put in the comments below topics that you'd like us to rage about in the future. I have a lot of guys who sometimes give me great ideas. Because Lee wants good topics. Lee wants to be able to bitch and complain. He doesn't like these topics where we agree too much. So put him in the topic in the comments below. And maybe John Romano will even rejoin the show and take a few minutes off of his very busy job. Lee, what's the next tattoo you're getting?
That's right, I'm having a cup of tea.
I like that coffee cup. Very, very artistic.
That's all Superman. Where's my camera? Here it is.
You're going too fast. I'm getting blurs. You still have your Superman rings on, huh? I thought you had given up on Superman for a while. Now you're back to Superman again?
No, this was probably, I think, from a fan. You know, fans still like giving me Superman stuff.
But you got the Superman rings on too, though, again.
No, I got rid of them. I've only got this ring. Look at that, engagement rings.
Ooh.
Racing ring from the championship.
Are you engaged?
Whoa, didn't know that. And then this one, the Knights Templar.
Wow. I like it. Are you going out?
Yeah.
It's pretty early over there. Do you wear those rings all the time?
Yeah, I never take them off because my fingers are too fat. Look, they're too hard to get off something.
You probably can't even get them off those fingers. Yeah, you're right.
7. This one can come off. I don't know about that one. That one might not come off. Can you see that one? I don't know if it comes off. But yes, it's always good asking the fans what they want because then you got to come opening up the camera. What do you want to talk about?
Well, Lee,
Dave.
I know you're just starting your day. Have a good workout at the gym if you're going to be there, and we'll talk to you next week. So, who in the final word? Who's your toughest Mr. Olympia to beat?
Still be Yates, like you said. Like I said, Haney was good in that. But like I said, with Yates, you never saw him. He always came in looking great. But I put it down to Yates and Haney because no one ever beat him, really.
Yeah.
But then again, if we went back a bit further, you got Arnold, who was tough to beat because he won the 1980 when he didn't look that good. So it was pretty tough to beat.
It's always good. It's always good when you politically have a lot of clout too, because you're in the movies, you know. So.
Well, I never had that. I never had political clout.
You were in a movie though, right? Didn't you play criminal recently in a movie?
Yeah, but still didn't give me clout competing. I had political clout where I walk on stage, they'd be like, oh, there's Yates, here's one. Oh, there's that prickly priest, fucking 10th place for that cunt talking shit in the magazines.
What could I say?
Lee Priest, The Life and Times. We'll have to do a biography on you one of these days. All right, that's it. Guys, if you have any, like I said, topics, put them in the comments below. Make sure you hit subscribe, turn on your notifications. I'm Dave Palumbo with Lee Priest for another episode of Iron Rage.